Right.
And how's my hair? Is my hair all right? Is it nice and tall?
Now it's huge.
Great, that's what I want.
Good.
G'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope you are super well. And here we are standing outside the museum. It's an absolutely beautiful modern building. This is a place that talks about the past and it talks about the future, it talks about technology. And today I want to talk about technology as well. And that is, what could possibly be the D500 replacement? Is it a Z90? Is it a Z500? What might it be? In this video, we are going to speculate on what I think would be the absolute best birding camera that we would ever see from any manufacturer, and it's all to do with one thing. All right, let's talk about it. So of course, this video is complete speculation. I absolutely have no inside information at all, but what I can see is the technology that is available to manufacturers, and in this case available to Nikon, which would allow them to create the absolute best birding camera ever. And please write in the comments below, what do you think would make the best birding camera? The best APS-C sized, super fast, better than anything you've seen. Lots of dynamic range. How do you think we're going to achieve this? All right, the first thing I want to talk about before we get to that crazy sensor technology is, what sort of body would we like to see it in? Well, based on the massive success of the D500, the type of body that we might have is something, I think, somewhere between a Z6 III and a Z8. Knowing the sensor that I'm putting in this body, I think I want to put it in a body like the Z8 because it's going to run fast, it's going to run hot. You're going to need that larger chassis to dissipate the heat that this astonishing sensor, which does exist, is going to create. But please let me know in the comments below, would you prefer it to be the Z6 III style body with a flip around screen? Would you prefer it to be the Z8 style body with the very unique mechanism that Nikon has created there? Or would you prefer to see the type of screen that we now see from a number of manufacturers, including Lumix, Sony, and I think also Olympus, which is not only is it a flip forward, but it's also the flip up. It basically is that universal screen. It gives you everything. So please let me know your thoughts about the type of body that you would like to see in a Z500. Next, we're going to talk about this amazing sensor. All right, so how is it that Nikon is going to be able to create this state-of-the-art Z500 with technology that exists today? And this is where the red Nikon synergies can occur. Anybody who's looked into the specs of the Komodo X will know that it is a Super 35 sensor, which is almost exactly the same size as APS-C. So to make that an APS-C sensor, or to even use that sensor, because it's already being manufactured, it already exists. And for us to get it into a price point that is going to work for potential Z500 buyers, Nikon would need to produce more of these chips. So we could say, just leave this sensor exactly the same. Although there is one problem with doing that, and that is that it is a cine ratio sensor. And what that means is it's a little bit more letterbox than we are used to. So of course this sensor could be extended to accommodate the aspect ratio that we're used to. But beyond that, the technology can remain exactly the same. From my perspective, if you're a birder, it's a little bit like being a hunter. You want to be able to brag about the fact that you have got the best equipment in the market to get the most astounding shots possible. And let's talk about the sensor that is in the Komodo X. It can shoot at 80 frames per second using the full sensor readout, which is 6K or around 20 megapixels. And thus, when we extend it, we take it up to maybe something like 24 megapixels. When it comes to dynamic range, the Komodo X sensor is featuring 16.5 stops. This is more than we see today in any of our Nikon cameras. And then probably the pièce de résistance of this sensor is it is a global sensor. Global, what does it mean? And global means that all of those 20 million pixels, they're all firing at once. The information is being collected all at once. And this removes any possibility at all of there being any form of rolling shutter artifacts. And thus, to me, this is a really exciting and compelling opportunity that Nikon could take. But the only thing I want to stress here is if they took this approach, they used this pre-existing sensor, which is currently in a camera that sells for $6,999 US, then we'd have to think about the idea of the D500 replacement being more expensive than it used to be. Now, let's say they can produce more sensors, they can get economies of scale, they can stick it inside a Z8 style body. Could they bring the price down to a Z8 type of price? It's interesting, isn't it? Because the Z8 on launch was $3,999 US versus $6,999 US. Could they close the gap on that price? And what price would be right for birders who literally want to have the best camera that has ever been made for this subject? Let's just repeat the specs that you would have. You'd have 80 frames per second with the current technology. You have 16.5 stops of dynamic range with the current technology. You have a global shutter. There is no other birding camera that exists anywhere near this, anything like this. The A9 III is probably the closest camera to this, but it's 24 megapixels full frame, and thus you don't get that extra reach that APS-C provides. And thus, would it be reasonable to suggest that if you could essentially make a APS-C version of the A9, and we're aware of the price that the A9 is, which is $5,999 US for the A9 III, then maybe somewhere between $4,999, $5,999, and you have a camera that's in a body that's built for everything with the best sensor known to man put inside that body to allow you to have the best birding camera ever. It's pretty exciting to me and pretty compelling to me. And when I think about what birding is about and what birders are trying to achieve, they tend to want the most reach, so APS-C makes sense, and they tend to want the most speed, and that makes sense. So how does this sound to you? Does this sound potentially like a good replacement for the D500? Yes, it's more expensive. If memory serves me correctly, the D500 was US 2,000. If this camera came in at something like 4 or 4.5 with absolutely the best sensor that we've ever seen in a camera like this, and not only that, but it came in a fantastic state-of-the-art and robust chassis, the Z8 style body. How would you feel about that? From my perspective, if you want par excellence in birding, then I feel like we need par excellence when it comes to the hardware that we bird with. Now, of course, Nikon is providing us with some of the best lenses, best telephoto lenses that we have simply ever seen in this space. And you can have a compact lens like the 400mm 4.5, or you can go up to the absolute deluxe 600mm f4s. But this is some of the best glass we've ever seen. And to me, if I was into birding, I would probably go for something like the 400 2.8 with the built-in 1.4 teleconverter with the APS-C crop that would be provided by the sensor that we're talking about. And thus you have probably the most astonishing high-speed, global shuttered, high dynamic range combination for birding, wildlife and action that we've potentially ever seen. To me, this is a very, very exciting potentiality, and I think the part that I like about it the most, even so this is absolutely complete speculation on my part, the technology exists. So I don't know. Again, I will always circle back to, is there a market? Is there enough potential users for a body like this, one? And two, would a body like this attract users from another mount? And I think if Nikon created something like that, a camera that is dedicated to birding, action, wildlife, and it's got these specs that are far beyond anything that we've seen from anybody else in a mirrorless hybrid camera, I do actually think that they could find themselves some new market. But it still comes down to, are they going to be able to sell 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 of these cameras and make a profit? And for me, one thing that's really compelling and interesting about this particular market is that it does attract people buying premium lenses. And of course, there is great profit in lenses. If you are selling a 400 4.5, a 400 2.8, a 600 PF, or the 600 f4, this is all high margin glass. So it's a compelling and interesting business to get into. All right, everybody. Well, I'd love to know what your thoughts are about this potential hardcore top of the range Z500 camera might be. Z500, D500 replacement, whatever you want to call it. This is compelling. From my perspective, it's compelling, and well, it's possible. The tech is here today. Now, there are some other issues around the tech, like potentially heat and battery usage. And of course, this is where the technology needs to be advanced from where it sits today in the Komodo X. But the Komodo X is not brand new. Off the top of my head, I think it's something like 2 or 3 years old. So of course, there is always advancement in technology. Every component of these cameras is being looked at and tweaked. I'd love to know your thoughts about this potential D500 replacement. Absolute fantasy on my part. But hey, let me know in the comments below, could a camera like this actually meet your needs? The best birding camera ever made. There's the specs. Alrighty, it's been so good to see you, and if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please do subscribe, please share, and please like. Bye for now.